All right, Galen Bacharier is here, political reporter at the Des Moines Register. Zach Fisher, state bureau reporter, state capitol bureau reporter for our Next Star affiliate in Des Moines, WHO. And you know this young lady, Kellie, Meyer, Washington correspondent for NewsNation. Great to see all of you. Galen, start with you on this. Trump's people would like you to believe that his victory is inevitable. Are you seeing that?
I think it depends who you talk to, right? I think that feeling is very pervasive among their camp. There's a reason that Trump is coming here in the style he is, right? On his own terms, not participating in traditional events. But I think there's certainly...
He's not going to eat pork chop on a stick.
I wouldn't count anything out with him, but certainly he's not doing the traditional state fair stop, right? But I think, obviously, if you talk to his opponents, they disagree, and there's a reason they're here, and they're doing the traditional circuit. They're hoping to kind of rev up that momentum. I think if you talk to a decent amount of Iowans, they're certainly intrigued by the possibility of a contested race. Whether that actually bears out in the coming weeks, I don't know.
Yeah, what I think is so interesting, you put up the polling April versus today. Trump's gained 2 points. DeSantis has lost a bunch. Scott's gone up by 10 points. Ramaswamy's come up. Pence is about the same. Haley's moving around. Christie, statistically insignificant. But what I think is most interesting, Zach, and I wanted to understand with you, everybody we talk to doesn't care about the culture war. They care about the economy, the border, and national security, and sometimes energy policy. Yet, Trump, DeSantis, Ramaswamy have all made the culture war the #1 issue in their campaign.
Well, I look at it as foot traffic. Who's coming here the most? Who's talking to Iowans the most? And you're certainly seeing it with like a candidate like Vivek, who's put in a lot of legwork here. He's been approachable from what I've seen to Iowans, too, coming up and talking about those issues that you had mentioned, too. So I guess whatever is front of mind for Iowa voters, it's important to be able to talk to the candidates. And I think some of the candidates, as you mentioned, Vivek or Mr. Scott there as well, too, they're putting in the legwork and kind of getting that face-to-face interaction with Iowans.
Kelly, I know you've talked to Tim Scott before, and you spent a lot of time covering him on the Hill. He's running a relatively quiet campaign when it comes to media and a relatively aggressive campaign when it comes to meeting voters and being out on the trail. What's the calculus?
Yeah, and I was thinking because he's not here this weekend when many of the other Republican candidates are here. He's coming to the fair later next week when kind of the coast is cleared. He's doing it on his own terms. But I think he's kind of going slow and steady. I think what's so interesting about this weekend is that you're seeing a lot of those Republican contenders coming out. This is 2 weeks ahead of the debate. They're really testing the water, testing their message, and seeing if they can make it to that debate stage for those that haven't gotten there. We talked with Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. He said today that he would drop out if he doesn't make the debate stage, but then, said that he's really trying to get there.
He told us that as well, and then all of a sudden sort of walked it back. At least it was an honest answer. New York Times today, how are Iowa Democrats? I can't even describe to you how bad it is. And Galen, I think this is an interesting point for you, and just from covering this state for so long. Obama 08, Obama 12, true swing state, 16 goes red, 20 goes red. One of the themes that we have here on the program is that obviously politics is downstream of culture. ... The real divide is urban culture, rural culture. Is Iowa and what we see here now representative much more of a rural state than a urban state?
I certainly think we see Republican dominance in those rural areas. And I think if you look at a state like Iowa, the rural areas, when it comes to representation in the state legislature, when it comes to the voters that turn out come, especially non-presidential election years, when most of those down-ballot races are the focus, I think they certainly have that in a relative stranglehold, right? I think Democrats are looking for any leg up they can get, right? They look at Rob Sand having the state auditor's office here. They look at some key wins and flips in the state legislature. But you're right that at the top of the ballot, they are really struggling to, and I think a lot of state parties in red states, Democratic state parties, are really looking for that identity to find that foothold again in rural areas. How can we claw back there? How can we meet those folks where they're at and start to slowly but surely win back those seats?
Now, Zach, what are you looking at in terms of telltale signs here of how culture versus economics and other things intersect? We were interviewing people over at the beer tent, for example. The Bud Light tent was empty, and the Bud Light taps were full, and everything. And there was a lot of other brands that were just flowing out. And it seems as though, at least with this crowd, there is this part of the culture that they're still holding on to.
I guess when you look at it, leaning back into my first answer too, I guess a little bit about foot traffic too. You see stuff on social media too. You see stuff online, and people might look at that as a bubble. But you come out here, you talk to Iowans, you kind of see what issues are front of mind to that too. Whether it is the Bud Light issue relevant several months ago here too, or as you mentioned too, inflation as it's related to the economy. I'm sure it's been on every voter's mind here too for the past couple of years. Honestly, it's just coming out here and it's Iowans letting. Here's the thing about Iowa. Iowans will let you know what's front of mind, too. They won't hesitate. They won't stop to let you what's impacting their year-to-year or their day-to-day, too. So I guess that's what you can appreciate about it, too, is because you're going to get the truth from people, too, when you come out and talk to them.
Yeah, let's put it this way. You don't have to spend a lot of time asking people or sort of trying to get their real opinions here. It's a pretty direct crowd, as opposed, I think, Kellie and I, you would agree, to everything we get in Washington.
It's refreshing.
Yes, there's a refreshing frankness, which I think is interesting. You interviewed Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. Say what you want about his candidacy. Long shot would be probably a generous way to put it. ... You asked him about the Hunter Biden news today and the special counsel. I don't know why, but his answer fascinated me.
Yeah, he said the only one asking me that question is people with microphones like you, so the press. No one else here at the fair is talking about that. For voters, they want to know, like you said, about the economy, kitchen table issues, gas prices. They're not talking about Hunter, but former President Trump, who's going to be here tomorrow, may be talking about Hunter.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.